Well, welcome, folks, to this edition of the 700 Club. Fiscal insanity. That's what Senator Joe Manchin is calling the president's $3.5 trillion social spending bill. With moderates putting the brakes on the plan, the Democrats are in disarray. Well, what's being held hostage by this rift? A much-needed infrastructure bill to shore up our roads, our bridges, our power plants, and the internet. The trillion-dollar question, will Nancy Pelosi hold a vote today? Abigail Robertson looks at what's ahead on Capitol Hill.
Two key parts of President Biden's domestic agenda are in jeopardy, with progressive and centrist Democrats still unable to reach an agreement on what could be a $3.5 trillion budget reconciliation plan.
We're obviously at a precarious and important time in these discussions.
While most Democrats support the bipartisan infrastructure bill that's already cleared the Senate, Senator Bernie Sanders is encouraging progressive House Democrats not to vote for it until they're assured the Senate will pass the Democrat-only budget reconciliation bill too.
If we just go forward with the physical infrastructure bill, it is very possible that nothing will happen with reconciliation, and that would be a terrible shame.
Moderate Democratic Senator Joe Manchin released a statement Wednesday night stating that spending trillions more on new government programs when we can't even pay for essential programs like Social Security and Medicare is fiscal insanity, adding he cannot support $3.5 trillion more in spending.
We're not proceeding with anything that doesn't have agreement between the House and the Senate.
Senate Democrats are also struggling to raise the debt ceiling without GOP support before the U.S. runs out of money to pay its bills in mid-October. But Majority Leader Chuck Schumer claims doing so through budget reconciliation isn't an option.
Individual senators could move to delay and delay and delay. It is very risky and could well lead us to default, even if only one senator wanted that to happen. That's very possible. So you can't do it this route. Everyone who's studied it knows it is risky.
Well, the good news for President Biden is it looks like Congress will act today to avert a government shutdown. But the planned vote in the House on the infrastructure bill could be pulled if House Speaker Nancy Pelosi feels that she doesn't have the votes to pass it without support from progressive Democrats.
Well, Abigail, you know, this thing is so important, this infrastructure, we really need it. But these crazies want to load this thing like a Christmas tree. And what happens if that infrastructure vote doesn't go on today? What then?
Well, moderate Democrats will not be happy, and they could stop negotiating with progressive Democrats on that larger spending package that they want to see passed. But progressive Democrats argue that there's no timeline to pass either bill, and they believe if they keep negotiating, eventually they will reach an agreement and be able to bring both bills to the floor and get both sent to President Biden's desk. But that is very risky because what it could also do is end both bills.
What's the holdup within the Democratic Party on the $3.5 trillion?
Well, as you saw from Senator Joe Manchin, he will not spend $3.5 trillion. Moderate Democrats like him want that number to come down. And Senator Kyrsten Sinema also will not agree to $3.5 trillion. But progressive Democrats are upset with them because they say that they're not being straightforward on what number they will support. They're not getting a top line number from them. And Senator Bernie Sanders, on the other hand, he says that $3.5 trillion is the minimum that should be spent on that bill. He originally wanted it to be $6 trillion. So right now, it's really unclear if the moderate and progressive Democrats will ever reach an agreement that can pass both the House and Senate with those narrow majorities. And in the Senate, they need every senator on board, every Democratic senator on board. But it's unclear if within the party they're ever going to reach an agreement that everyone's happy with. Pat.
Thanks, Abigail. You know, you look at Bernie Sanders, he's chairman of a Senate committee. And this guy went to Moscow for his honeymoon. He's supposedly a socialist, but actually he was favoring communism. And of course, if we can if the Democrats can make everybody in the country dependent on them, if they give free college tuition, if they give free remission of debt, if they take away all the burdens that are on people that have nothing to do with work. In none of these bills is anything having to do with work. So you don't have to work. You're going to get a payoff by the government. And this, of course, will wean everybody away from self-sufficiency onto the government dole. And this is communism. And Bernie Sanders, as I say, spent his honeymoon in Moscow. I mean, you talk about him being a, quote, liberal or socialist, way over to the left. And the Democrats are trying to pull this country toward this kind of socialism, and the American people don't buy it, okay? Well, here's another one. You know, there was a debate in Virginia, and Terry McAuliffe, in my opinion, lost the debate and lost the election with his one thing. He said parents should not be telling schools what to teach. Can you believe that? And there's parental outrage over sexually explicit books in public school libraries, including pedophilia. And the people in Loudoun County were just enraged. And now Glenn Youngkin, who is the Republican candidate for governor, is using the issue to put Terry McAuliffe on the defensive. CBN News correspondent Brody Carter has more.
Just can't understand how you can just so comfortably lie to everybody. And let's just be clear.
That's what you've been doing all night, buddy.
It's a political sparring match between Democrat Terry McAuliffe, who served as governor from 2014 to 2018, and Republican hopeful Glenn Youngkin.
He's a total wannabe Donald Trump.
There's an over and under tonight on how many times you're going to say Donald Trump. And it was 10, and you just busted through it. You're running against Glenn Youngkin.
Youngkin finds himself walking a fine line after getting Donald Trump's endorsement, while also trying to win back suburban voters who left the party during Trump's tumultuous presidency.
Donald Trump runs for president in 2024. Will you support him?
Yeah, who knows who's going to be running for president in 2024? And
if he's a nominee, will you support him?
Who knows?
Blow after blow, the two drew political lines on dozens of issues, including hot topics in education, mandatory vaccinations, and abortion.
My opponent, on the other hand, is the most extreme abortion candidate in the country.
Businesses are not going to come to a state where they're putting walls up around their state. He's against gay marriage. He's against abortion.
Prudence Robertson of the pro-life Susan B. Anthony list sees abortion as key, especially with so many states taking action and the Supreme Court preparing to hear a related case in its next term.
Abortion should be the preeminent issue because when you think about it, none of those other issues matter if a person isn't given that first chance at life, that right to live outside the womb.
Youngkin defended his pro-life stance, omitting instances of rape or if the baby threatens the life of a mother. He re-clarified his support of a pain threshold bill to protect babies 20 weeks after conception.
Well, if Terry wins, he will do everything that he can to enshrine Roe versus Wade in the Constitution. He stated that explicitly last night. So if he does win this candidacy, we will see abortion unbarred.
When I hear Glenn Youngkin is against laws to stop domestic abusers from buying guns,
increasing corporate profits through serious abuse, and the performing of unnecessary procedures on children.
Glenn Youngkin is wrong for Virginia.
The McAuliffe campaign hitting Youngkin with a slew of negative ads on social media and TV. Youngkin firing back after Tuesday's debate.
Both of these books include pedophilia, graphically describes engaging in fellatio with male minors.
After parents found sexually explicit materials on the shelves in Fairfax County Public Schools, Youngkin came after McAuliffe, who vetoed a bill that would have informed parents about all school materials. This as the nation fiercely debates critical race theory.
And I'm not going to let parents come into schools and actually take books out and make their own decisions. Yeah, I stopped the bill that I don't think parents should be telling schools what they should teach. Good.
Political onlookers say both candidates moved the needle in their chances to win the governor's mansion, but it's too early to anticipate what swing voters will do at the ballot.
After that debate, we're seeing both of these campaigns push completely different messages on completely different issues.
Demographically, McAuliffe has a large advantage in Northern Virginia and the Eastern Tidewater region. Youngkin runs a lead in Western Virginia, and Richmond appears to be the area with greatest political sway. Other points of contention surround the end of right to work, border policies, creating jobs, and lowering the crime rate. Now we look forward to November 2nd, the day of voting. Brody Carter, CBN News.
Well, our senior Washington correspondent Tara Mergener is joining us now. And Tara, McAuliffe's comments about parents not telling schools what to teach, how's that going to play with suburban voters, do you think?
Well, Pat, when I heard him say that, I kind of wondered, did he actually mean to say that? Because certainly it's hard to imagine any parent on either side of the aisle would not want to have a say in their child's education, be it Democrat or Republican. But McAuliffe really owns this. And as we heard in the piece, he vetoed legislation when he was governor that would have alerted parents when there was sexually explicit material in the school materials. So the other thing he did, Youngkin seized on this. This was a great moment for Youngkin, who has already got a new ad out there. Take a listen.
We watched parents so upset because there was such sexually explicit material in the library.
I decided to check the titles at my child's school. Both of these books include pedophilia, graphically describes engaging in fellatio with male minors.
You vetoed the bill that would have informed parents that they were there.
Yeah, I stopped the bill that I don't think parents should be telling schools what they should teach. I don't think parents should be telling schools what they should teach.
It'll be interesting, Pat, to see how that plays out in the days to come, whether that was a winning thing to say or not. But McAuliffe's position may also run counter to Virginia state law, which says a parent has a fundamental right to make decisions concerning the upbringing, education, and the care of the parent's child. And also, Pat, for so long, parents were told, get involved in your child's education. Kids whose parents care and get involved and are paying attention do so much better. And clearly, this is the absolute opposite of that.
Tara, do you think that McAuliffe is carrying the burden of the failed Biden administration, the awful things that are happening in terms of inflation and the border and all the rest of it? Has he got to live with that burden on him?
Well, certainly Biden's falling poll numbers are no help to McAuliffe. That is going to be clear because it's all about momentum. So definitely what's happening to Biden, and there's no sign that his polling numbers are going to pick up, they're definitely going to be a drag. Again, the border crisis, the inflation you mentioned, the Haitian refugees coming in, resettling the Afghan refugees, all of this trickles down, across the party. So absolutely, this could be a factor, especially with the poll so close. This race is a virtual tie with McAuliffe having the advantage, but it's all within the margin of error. So the party not being particularly strong right now in terms of Biden could be a real problem for McAuliffe, definitely.
Is this going to be a predictor somehow of the 2020 midterms?
Yeah, a lot of people certainly think so. Virginia is just one race, but it's a very, very important race. So initially, this is going to set the narrative for the midterms. So again, McAuliffe has the advantage. But again, Biden is dragging him potentially down. There's a lot of concern with strategists that there's no sense of urgency in the Democratic Party. So if Youngkin can pull this off for Republicans, it's going to show that they can take states that Biden handily won in 2020. So yes, there's a lot of buzz about that, and Republicans are really hopeful that Youngkin can pull it off. But even if it's close, they're saying that this could be an indicator of things to come in the midterms.
Thanks, Tara. Well, keep your eyes also on New Jersey. So it looks like these two states are going to be key. And in my opinion, that comment by McAuliffe, he shot himself in the foot. And Northern Virginia has been the Democratic stronghold. We've got Loudoun County and Fairfax County. And if those counties go against him, I think in the Tidewater area, Youngkin is going to probably run ahead. And certainly out in southwestern Virginia, he'll run ahead. So, and in Richmond. So the question is, if in Fairfax and Loudoun County, If that remark, just that one remark by McAuliffe, sinks his chances, Youngkin should win in a breeze.